before I called it to order, but I didn't. So we're called to order, and we do have a quorum who all identified themselves with a roll call vote. So we are being recorded, and I am going to transfer this to TCAM. I just didn't get the link in time to have TCAM do it. So before I posted, so I didn't want to modify once it had been posted with this link. So, but I am going to send Dave Funioli the recording, and he will post it on YouTube. So, all right. Any additions or deletions before we get started looking at the bids that we have?
Yeah, I don't actually have the agenda open, so I have to go find it.
Okay.
Oh, it's very simple.
Yeah.
I think so, right?
It just says discuss the bids. And then discuss next steps for the FY21 process that's underway and next meeting.
Okay, I have no additions then.
Yep. No additions here either.
Okay.
All right.
So having never done this before, and I thought that I debated which way to go. And what I thought is if we could discuss what we saw when we went through them. The other option, and then discuss the other. The other option would be to pull up the RFP and say, does this one have it? Does that one have it? You know, how does this one compare to that one? So what do you guys think? What's the best way to do this?
Good, Don.
I was going to say, I was thinking it's really, I think, one at a time, because in both proposals, they said that they can meet our requirements without exception. So my reading of that was we put the RFP out there and they say they can meet it without any exception in both cases.
Yeah. So yeah, other than their reputation, if you will, and the prices, really, I don't really find a lot disparity between them.
Well, the one thing, okay, I did just a few. I've got my.
Well, yeah, I put my list together too. So that's why I was thinking one at a time, we can go through one company at a time and then maybe make a choice.
Okay. And let's talk about that as well, because do we want to check references? We asked them to provide us with references. Do we want to do that prior to making a final decision? Because I have not checked any references. You know, I didn't do that. I did call Tony Roselli with one question, but beyond that, I didn't. So, well, let's pick one. Where do you want to start? Powers and Sullivan or Roselli Clark?
Which one did you open first?
I opened Roselli Clark first. Which one did you open first?
Me too.
They were both really open, so it's kind of like, you know, they were in the same package for me. So I just wondered if it made sense to do it in the order they were open.
Okay, then in Town Hall, we opened Roselli first. They were in two different things.
In my office, they were open in that order too.
Yeah. Okay.
And then all right. So, well, Dawn, do you want to start?
Sure. It's kind of like what I guess it comes to detail. And I'll start with the shorter one for the pricing. So it's about 4 pages.
Right.
And I know it's really small, but we asked them to reply to Ross as the interim town administrator, and they replied it to the Board of Selectmen. They addressed it to the Board of Selectmen.
I think I can answer that, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I think
and later on, the last sentence before dating and signatures, they had a spelling error, and it looks like it should be this, and they have tis. I know it's minor, but
well, explain. Where is that again, Don?
I didn't.
On page 1.
This bid. Yeah, it is bid. Well, they're English. That's just an accent.
Irish. Yeah.
See
no
that?
H's. Yeah.
I actually glossed over that.
I'm looking for it. I don't see it. Where is it?
Okay.
Last sentence before the signatures.
Yeah. We therefore offer and make TIS bid. And I know it's, like I say, I know it's minor. They're doing these pieces, but I'm just as critical on the next one,
Okay.
I think. So it's that whole piece of, you know, where are we? What are we getting, and how much time did they spend on the detail, I guess is. So that was all on the first document that I had. I mean, the prices are in here. They did not include anything on the extra services or the other. And that's just a comparison to the other one. So both of those are NA. And so we're comparing just the pricing for the financial statement preparation and the audit. And the additional single audit. So pricing is increasing 500 a year for that throughout this quote. So nothing, like I say, nothing major on it, but that's where I started, and that was the first document.
Do you want to go through the proposal for the audit technical services at the same time, or do you just want to go?
Either way, we can go and compare the pricing document and the introduction, and then compare the audit documents.
Okay. Do you want to? So Dave, do you have comments on that?
I don't. I had some comments, but they were minor as well. I missed the TIS though. I'm upset with myself for that.
It's easy to skip over.
Yeah.
It's one of my common ones.
Well, no, I don't know if I told you, when I review resumes, if they have grammatical errors or any kind of errors in the cover letter, I don't even look at the resume. I just toss it.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, but it's the fact when you get 10 of them and you don't need them.
Yeah.
Here we only have 2 though. So
Yeah.
All right.
So Dave, do you have anything else to say on the proposal for audit services pricing for Roselli?
On the pricing, no, that was, I mean, the audit that I just got in that state board that I'm in chair of, we had incremental increases for the next 3 years, I think of $1,500. So $500 increment is not, I think that's de minimis. You still have to compare with the other one, but I don't see that as a problem in of itself. You're just talking on the smaller package though, right? The one that's got 4 pages to it.
Yeah,
Right.
the
Yep.
audit, the pricing.
Yeah.
We're just looking at the pricing.
I was going to ask you one thing, Veronica. What is the current price that we're paying this year?
I think it's either 26 or 28,000.
So it's still they're still in the same ballpark then.
Yeah, the Melanson is higher than any of these. And Terry told me that she asked Melanson what they would charge for a audit, because she didn't think we were going to get any audit bids. And Melanson said it will be 35,000.
Really?
I think they don't want to do it.
That's pricing it out of the competition.
Yeah, and Ross, Ross put 28K in the budget for this, because that's what he figured it would be.
Okay. That's Nostradamus here, right on, spot on.
Yeah, so these are all in the ballpark. The only thing I did look, and this has more to do with comparing the two. I couldn't find when is this bid good till? And that I believe was in the pricing for Powers and Sullivan, and I did find it, and it's good until June 22nd, June 22nd.
Yeah.
So it's 90 days as well. So that was the only thing that I couldn't find. I missed the TIS, and so I called all. Full disclosure here. I called all 4 that we sent to last week, and when I first sent the email to you guys, Powers and Sullivan was the only one that said they were bidding. And then Tony Roselli called me back. I left messages everywhere. and got callbacks. Tony did call me back, and he said, well, we weren't going to bid because your bid package is really, he said, normally people just ask us for our pricing services and to provide our general bid package. He said, but yours asked for a whole lot more. And we don't have anybody who's available to do this. To do the bid, not to do the audit, to do the bid. They just bought 3 additional small companies, including that Hingsey and Justy or whatever, Justy and Hingsey that had been doing that you mentioned, Don, that had done Shirley, Pepperell, and Ashby. Roselli and Clark just bought them, and they bought 2 other small municipal auditing firms. So they are rolling it all in together. They've just made their company a whole lot bigger. And he said March 30th is a major deadline for, well, it might have been April 1st, but the end of March is a major deadline for municipal firms that do auditing. And that they're all, that the timing, he said, if you're going to do this again as an audit committee, he said, ask for your bids to come in the first week in April, not the second to the last week in March. He was really quite chatty. All right, so he was not going to bid. He told me, if you don't get any bids, call me back. So that was maybe 4:30 in the afternoon when I talked to him that day, a week ago. He called me back 6:30, and he said, I just looked at where you're located. And oh, I should tell you. So no, I won't do it on tape. That was not the first question he asked me. The first question he asked me was a very interesting question. Anyway, after he did more research, he called me back and he said, I just looked, and our firm, because of the companies that we've purchased, are now doing 10 out of the 11 companies that are between that Route 2 corridor and the New Hampshire border in central Massachusetts. And he said, we're doing 10 out of 11, and the one that we aren't doing is you. He said, so if you don't mind my giving you the principles, maybe not the exact person that we're going to put on your account because we don't know yet for all the towns that we've just picked up. He said, if you don't know, do that, I would like to put in a bid. And that's why it's written to the Board of Selectmen. We had a discussion about whether he should address it to the Select Board or the Board of Selectmen. He said that we should not be calling ourselves a Board of Selectmen anymore. We should be a Select Board. And I said, well, our new charter makes us the Select Board, but it hasn't been approved yet.
Tell him we don't need his PC coordination on it.
He was very interesting. Anyway, so he did put in a bid. I didn't know if it would get there in time or not. So that's what we have here. And that's why it's not to Ross Perry.
Okay, that's fine. It's kind of,
he is the company that used to be Sterling, or is Sterling, and that Sterling uses. He knows Ross, and he saw that Ross was the interim TA. And this is why we have received a bid.
Right.
That's all I'll say.
That's reasonable.
So
you want to move to the thicker package on them now?
No, let's look at, are we going to look at Powers and Sullivan pricing before we
just
go
on the pricing?
Yeah, let's look at the small packet for Powers. So my only comment beyond my little diatribe right there is that, you know, I couldn't find the, how long the bid was good for, but it's 90 days.
Right.
I was doing a comparison. I did a comparison between.
No, I didn't get to that piece on my comparison.
So anyway, and Go ahead, do yours, Dawn, for powers. and-
Okay, I didn't necessarily have anything on their package, on the pricing, other than when you take out the optional, we're talking about a 28,000 across the board with no increases on that.
Yep.
And they have the fixed comprehensive report price. So very competitive, and we're talking about about a $1,500 difference over the three. So price wise, we're really I'm really not. Is no price advantage taking one over the other. I don't believe.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anything else, Dawn?
I really didn't have anything else on the short document for them.
Okay, Dave, how about you?
Yeah, I had nothing other than I did the same addition on the 28,000 across the board. But I think the difference in pricing is de minimis. If all things being equal, you would use $500 as the tiebreaker. But if there's some aspect or attribute of one company over the other, and there's a $1,500 difference in price, I don't think that price would cause you to choose them over someone who had a benefit, even if it was.
Unless, and let me, unless, look at that CAFR, that comprehensive annual financial report. They're charging 5,000 for it. And this was one of my questions. Let me find it. It's in the fat one in Roselli. The two things that I could not find well, let me just say in Powers and Sullivan, they have an additional 5K for the annual comprehensive financial report. All right, so that puts them up to 33. Of course, the 2,500 gets bumped out because that comes out of ARPA. I also could not find in their package, and I'm looking at the thicker package, the proposal itself, the capital asset inventory that we asked.
Yeah.
I could not find that in Powers and Sullivan. I did find it in Roselli, but not there. And I'm looking for it. The comprehensive annual report is within here, is within Roselli as well. So those will, okay, so page 34 of 42 in Roselli, number 1, the first number. We will assist the town in the preparation of a comprehensive annual financial report. And that is inclusive in the Roselli. It's 5,000 extra in Powers and Sullivan, if I'm reading this right. And again, this is the first audit stuff that I've ever looked at.
Where did you find that on the Roselli one?
If you look in the thicker packet, page 34 of 42.
What number are you looking at?
Number 1, the last sentence.
What do they mean by assist the town as opposed to draft and create it?
I don't know. The other one says, if we ask them for help with the annual comprehensive financial report, it will cost 5,000.
Well, it just says
if requested. Yeah.
It says if requested, not help. I don't know. So there are probably with any competitive bids, you're probably going to have some open-ended questions that you're going to have to go back for clarification on. That may very well be a question that 5,000 would be, well, 2,500 because you said you take the other one out, but that would be sufficient for me to make a choice to the cheaper one if all things being equal.
The other thing for me in the page 2 of 42 in Roselli, those sets of little arrows, it's the second set, the middle one, maintenance of your capital asset inventory as described in your RFP. And I did not see that at all in Powers and Sullivan, other than you're right, Don, that they say, and both of you, that they say they will do what it says in our RFP.
Yeah.
But will they really?
So that's a qualifying question, although, you know, there's no direct mention of the asset maintenance report. Is that included in your bid?
So yeah, for Powers and Sullivan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this would be, those would be, and clarification of the annual comprehensive financial report. And before I ask, if I'm the one making the phone calls, I need to know what a comprehensive financial report is anyway. You know, like, where have I ever seen one in town? I mean, I have a general idea of what it is, but I can't physically say, here is the comprehensive financial report for Townsend, for, you know, whatever.
Or the question is, to each of them, can they provide a sample of a comprehensive? They might strip out towns information, you know, a town name and things like that. And then we would be able to compare.
Who's the one that needs it? Is it the town accountant? Who needs this comprehensive report?
I think it's more for the town itself, for the people. That's what I would.
We had in the past.
I don't know.
I think we've only had the standard annual report. We haven't had a comprehensive.
What does the RFQ say?
I don't think we addressed it.
I don't think, I still say this, yeah, I didn't pay much attention to, because I think it was more frosting on the cake than what we asked for.
Yes, I believe that's the case. I don't think we asked for this. I think if we had, they wouldn't have, okay, let me just, can I do a search? Edit, find. Comprehensive financial report, maybe just comprehensive. Yeah, I don't even think we put it in here. And so I think that they both addressed it in different ways.
Right.
And said, you might want this, or this is something that people ask for.
Yeah. Oh, but you keep talking. I'm just going to do a quick run over to the GASP website and see if they have anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still looking.
Maybe DOR would have something too.
Right.
It's probably subjective based on which department you're looking at.
Yeah.
No, we did not ask for that. The approach to the audit. The other, I don't know. Do you guys want to say anything else? Because I did find one other difference.
We just seem to be jumping around a little bit. Our review is being a little sporadic.
Yeah, so maybe I should go back to pulling it.
We started out with the smaller package for pricing.
Yeah.
And then we went to the bigger one for different, just.
Yeah, and I did that because of the pricing for the comprehensive report. Powers charges $5,000, and Roselli kind of has it in there, but you wouldn't know that. So I saw it in Powers. I'm like, 5,000 for that. Well, how's Roselli doing that? Because it wasn't I mean, I don't even know what it is. And if it had been in our audit package, I would have looked it up. And so I thought, geez, how do they address that? And I had to look through to find it, and I did find it, but in the thicker part for Roselli. So they're including that. They say help with it. So I have to ask the question to both, but that's how we got jumping around.
Yeah. It just seems like Sullivan is offering something above and beyond what we asked for and causing us to go into different directions. So if the $5,000 extra for that comprehensive financial report, if that's not something we asked for, you can use it as a say, oh, we're going to get an extra benefit if we go to them, but you can't hold it against the Roselli for just for that alone. And plus, we don't even know what it is. I mean, their idea of a comprehensive report might be something that Roselli is doing as part of the year-end review.
Yeah, or he threw it in because he knows that everybody asked. I think it got thrown in because it was something we did not ask for.
Right.
And they thought, oh, they might want that. That's something that's typically asked for. And they didn't ask for it. So maybe I better address it. That's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
I also, as far as pricing goes, Powers and Sullivan gave us rates for each of the people. Roselli did not.
Right. That was one big thing. But they both said they're going to keep within the confines of the request. So
right, exactly.
Right. And that's the thing. It's kind of like in the difference in the conversation you had. He doesn't necessarily know who he's assigning to the audit, so he wouldn't know what hours and rates to use for them.
Right. That's true.
But Sullivan didn't give us specific. They just said partners, seniors. They just went
right. Yeah,
more general, anyways.
Right, and they in the big package they give us the CVs for each.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a full list of people that they're going to choose from, and it's kind of. But they've included. I think it's a generic package that they put together, and they just have it and they sent it out. It pretty much. Any of these could be assigned to these roles in your audit.
Yep.
I will tell you that when Tony Roselli called me back, he asked me about the capital asset management plan. He said, why are you asking us to create that? He said, we don't usually create it, we audit it. He said, the town keeps track of their assets and their, depreciation, et cetera, et cetera. He said, this isn't something that they would typically audit. I mean, that they would typically create. And so he wanted to know why.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's what Melanson and Heath has been doing for us. He said, it's a little unusual to have your audit firm create your capital asset plan. Or manage, your inventory. He said, usually we look at it and say, oh yeah, we audit it. We don't create it. He said, but if you want us to create it, we will. He said, I'll put that in there.
Okay.
If we go back to the qualifying questions, are you keeping a list, Ronnie, of those things to to qualify, follow up on questioning of the two?
I have it on my little stickies.
I've seen you writing. Yeah, that's why
I don't have a list as such, but I've got my stickies, and after the meeting, I'll sit down and
stickies to
put my organize my stickies and figure out my questions.
I think for Powers and Sullivan, their larger package was basically an advertisement for their company. It wasn't really, there wasn't a lot of beef in the soup there. But from them, I'd say, what if we don't take the extra $5,000 comprehensive yearly report? What kind of report do they give us? What is?
Oh, it's the the management report. The two reports, I forget. It's the management report and the financial report.
And the financial statement.
And the
Okay,
financial
and-
statement, right.
Yeah.
And
And then
they,
Okay, I said, then just ask if they're gonna, what about the asset management program that we talked, that's in the RFQ too. So that comprehensive report, again, we didn't ask for it, so we spent 15 minutes talking about something we didn't ask for initially anyways. So,
Mhm.
so are we moving into the technical proposals then? You guys want to talk about those?
yeah, I'd like to move on to that.
Okay, yep.
So Dawn, I'll try to keep my mouth shut and I'll let you talk first.
No, I was gonna say there's really not much. And it comes down some of the conversations we've had already. I didn't find anything in here that I would that raised, well, okay, now that I say that, I did not, on my own, I did not raise questions about content or anything in this proposal. When I did compare it to Powers, what I found was there is this new GASB, which is the Government Accounting Standards, number 87 in regards to leases. It is not listed in Roselli at all, but it was in the other. So that's really the, and then comparison, looking at the clients and the local towns. They have Dunstable and Air and Groton and Lunenburg. They had quite a few of them listed. And then, and I know we're not talking about it, but when I went on the other side, on Powers and Sullivan, they have North Middlesex Regional School and Neshoba Valley Tech as clients that they're doing. So it's like, do we go with somebody that's already doing something in our town, or more town related, and keep it separate? And that way we have a different auditor between the schools and the government in town.
That's a good observation, Don. I saw the same thing where Roselli had basically our whole geographic location with the exception of us.
Yeah.
And that Powers Sullivan had the Middlesex school system and tech. I was thinking leaning the other way, but now that you say it, I think it would be more checks and balances to keep it separate if you're looking at it from that perspective.
I would,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I would not want to use the same auditors as the schools, I don't think.
Okay, and again, that's something we'll get to, but I wanted to point it out here. And then the other piece that I had, they each had an independent evaluation of their quality control systems from the same company, the D.E. Rodriguez and Company, and Roselli and Clark is 4 years newer than Powers and Sullivan.
Don, could you repeat that, please? I didn't get that.
There's one of the criteria that they say for choosing their company is their quality system to ensure that they produce a quality audit, a good audit. And so it sounds almost like ISO 9001 out in the business world to say we do the same thing all the time, and if anything's out of whack, these processes and procedures will find it. The 2 packets include the letter. The letter wording is identical. The only difference is the date on it from the D.E. Rodriguez. It's about the last page in both books.
It's just about the last page in Roselli, but
They put them different.
It's different in Powers.
Yeah, it's a little deeper in because they're.
I can't find it right now, but yeah.
It's page. Come on, it's right here. Got to be right here. Come on. I saw the other information.
So around their insurance page, I thought.
Yeah, it was as far as when we were seeing it, but I didn't necessarily flipping through it, didn't see it here. Qualified.
Are you looking for a Sullivan one or the or Roselli's one?
Sullivan, I can find the Roselli easily.
Gotcha.
Is it in the first?
What?
Is it in the first book for them?
I don't think so. I had it listed as big book.
Okay.
It's sort of in the middle. Okay. Let me get a page just before 20. It doesn't have a page. It would be page 19, and it is numbered.
Yeah.
In the corner. So it's page.
Yep.
So they're 2017.
Yeah, and that's the only difference. Like I say, word for word, they're identical, and they both passed. But I just thought it was interesting that they both have had their processes and procedures certified by the same company, and they both have received the pass. So I'm not seeing one over the other. Just like I say, the date is different on the Roselli and Clark and Associates. So just a little newer. Also in Roselli, the CVs for the people, there were a couple that had Powers and Sullivan experience before they came over.
I saw that they're like
I did
changing
too.
hands.
Yep, exactly. It's kind of like, you cut your teeth over at Powers and Sullivan and then came over, something like that.
Or vice versa. It's like law
Yep.
firms. They change associates like we change our socks.
Yeah. Yep. So it's nothing necessarily good or bad. It's just that they've got the experience of the other company along with them over at Roselli.
So Dave, what about you? Anything?
No, I think the reason why you didn't find any grammatical errors on them, Don, was because these are probably their boilerplate mass mailing forms that they have. It's the smaller ones that were tailored to us for the most part.
Right. The small ones were tailored in the first 2 or 3 pages in this bigger package. That's all.
That's it. Yeah. The bigger package is just same old, same old. The only thing I had comments, and it applied to both of them, was their liability insurance declaration pages were all due to expire the middle of next month. So we'd want to make sure that we got caught. And that's my world, right?
Yeah.
I noticed one was the Roselli one had it listed for professional liability, and the one for Sullivan was a little messed up. They had a $2 million coverage, but it was broken down to vehicle liability, and which has no, I don't care. None of their agents get into a car accident on the way to towns, and we're not responsible for that. There's no reason for that. So they don't have the same coverage. I think Sullivan's liability coverage is smaller on the liability portion for their work versus Roselli, but that's just a small thing. The rest of it's the same. Like I said, they're just basically advertisements for their companies.
All right, so should I go for?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
For these two? So I.
Sorry, it's kind of like do you want me to hit on the Powers and Sullivan, the item that I the one thing that is different in a technology space, there is nothing specified in the Roselli, Clark and Associates. We get very heavy into IT requirements in Power and Sullivan. And in one case, they say they need to work with our IT department. And I'm wondering if that's going to occur.
I thought that could become very expensive if they were working with our IT department.
Exactly. Yep.
We have a la carte IT services in Townsend.
Right. So I think, that one may require also, can we hit everything they're asking for us in in the IT side? Or if not, can they define it so that we could go out and get a quote to see how much additional it may cost us to do it?
That would be
Right.
one of the qualifying questions, but so then Sullivan Quick is starting to creep up on the cost now versus Roselli.
It,
You got,
they,
you got the,
yeah,
you got the comprehensive thing, you got the requirement in the IT, and I'll tell you, I did not know I thought our IT was in-house. I didn't realize it was an a la carte. So that's not me not knowing what the town hall's doing at this point. So if that's the case, yeah, that's a qualifier. How many hours do you need the IT for?
Right.
and it, you know, it's kind of like some of it, they say electronic work progress product. They're looking for, and they define it, our audit process is paperless. So they're asking us to scan, fax, and deliver electronic documents through a secure file system. And that's really the conversation is how we're going to be secure in transferring data back and forth. The other is, do we have the technology and the staff with technology knowledge to be able to perform what they will be asking for in the formats they'll be asking for it in. Because this doesn't get down into that nitty gritty of what are the actual requirements of the data.
Right.
You know, if it's just taking a scan of a purchase order or something like that and sending over a PDF, I think we have the technology and the knowledge to do that. But if they're asking for certain data to be in,
they mentioned a program in here.
they mentioned a program that they use, yeah. And
Yeah.
I was
so
not
we would have
familiar
to-
with that.
Yeah, so we would have to then take it, load it onto a computer or two to be able to use that and send it back. So we, you know, and that's, I don't know. It could be, like I say, I'm not exactly sure. There's not a real technical document that goes, you know, I think, and I'm going to call it an IDoc just because I'm familiar with it. An IDoc would be a format where you have certain fields and field lengths and the data in those fields, and you pass it and they read it in and upload it into a database based on you having all of the data in the proper fields and size and formats. You know, whether it's an integer, whether it's a number, whether it's long text, whether it's short text, there's just a lot of detail when you start getting down into data and fields and how you're going to make sure you match. Long dates, short dates, you know, just. I'm sorry, I'm going back to my days of transferring data between systems. And so
for power, so you need to qualify that. Those are all the internals that I was not aware of. I guess the first question would be, how much IT support do they need on an hour, a cumulative hour basis?
Yeah, roughly how many hours do they work with other towns of similar sizes?
And then the compatibility of their unique software to what would we have? Excel spreadsheets, that kind of thing?
We have Excel spreadsheets. We have output from Vidar, and there's some other systems. So it's kind of like that. That's why, you know, it's kind of like we need to really get into those kinds of pieces of what are they, you know, are they looking for it so they can just import it and not do any work, or are they looking for a PDF and they're going to have a data entry person entering the data into the right fields so that they can generate the reports.
I guess that portion wouldn't bother me if they said they can accommodate all of our requests within that flat fee. I don't care if they have someone writing it with a crayon or putting it in a keyboard. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, well, anyway, I just think it could cost us a fair amount of money on the.
It sounds, the more we talk about, even like this software, if they have a unique proprietary software package and they and they want us to be able to be compatible to that. Would they load that on one of our machines in town so they could talk to each other from here to there? And and if that's the requirement, do you want that on there? Do you want that resident on one of our machines?
Right, and that's where the conversation with IT comes in, and how it relates, what the, what certificates might be there, what, the security programs, with, that would need to know about it and get it, whatever.
Well, the more we talk about it, I mean,
McAfee
I make up my mind pretty quickly on things like that.
Mhm.
I'll tell you from the review I did just this afternoon on both these packages, I was leaning to Roselli anyways. I like the fact that they controlled the majority of the towns contiguous to our town, and they weren't part of the Middlesex. Now that you say that way, but every time we bring up a new area, Sullivan's price and the conflict that may increase because the IT requirements, the software compatibility requirements, that comprehensive thing costing extra $5,000, the not mentioning of the asset management program, all those things are working against them. So that's my 2 cents at this point. I would actually, just based on that alone, I'd be willing to kick Powers to the curb and just go with Roselli.
Okay, so should I will tell you that I lean towards Roselli and has not a lot to do with my conversations with him, although he's been very helpful when I've called and asked. I haven't called Powers and Sullivan, but in any event, the GASB 87, Dawn, on page 2 in Roselli, those sets of little arrows in the second set, the first one, together with implementation of all new GASBs. So I think that would cover the one that you had mentioned, 87 for leases or whatever.
I do have one critique on the Roselli quote, though. I can't stand their blue lines through the thing. It's a bear to read that thing. I'm like, my eyes are too old for this kind of stuff.
I kept on thinking I had a streak.
Right.
I thought something was blocking my light, and I had to.
I was moving it. I did the same. I opened up and I'm moving around to my office light. I'm like, what the heck's this?
Yeah.
That would be the one critique I have of it.
Yeah. Readability. Yeah.
I looked at the work plan. It's on page 18 for Roselli. And let me see if I can find the one for, I kind of went through and compared. So I didn't read one and then the other. Let me see if I can find the work plan. Sullivan and Powers doesn't start until September, October timeframe. Roselli will start in May with a pre-audit conference call. And so the process gets started sooner with them, a system review, planning and write-up, compliance phase. So if you look through this, it's different from the Sullivan and Powers. I'm looking for their.
But I was looking at Powers and Sullivan's on page 27, and item number 1 was we normally complete our preliminary work in the spring. It would include our audit planning and analysis, and so it does seem as though
they say that, but there's another place where it says
the flow chart
September.
Yeah, the flow.
Is it in this document or the other?
It's in the big document.
It's in the big one.
Yeah.
Do you have a page for their flow chart?
I'm trying to get there.
You were scrambling because you knew the question was
I
going
thought
to
I
happen.
had marked it, but one of my stickies might.
I know it's kind of like I was planning to go over and put markers on the pages. And it's kind of like.
Oh, the audit timeline. It's page 25.
Okay.
So our audit, it's not a flow chart, although I thought I saw one. Our audit time anticipates a September 2022 start for the audit of the town's statements, where I don't think it's more like October.
Yep. And while we're there, on page 23 for Powers and Sullivan,
Mhm.
and again, it probably gets the typo. The first sentence under number 1 of independent financial audit is talks about for fiscal years 2021 through
I got that
2023.
wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. You're right. Oh, my.
So this is an example of a copy and paste that they didn't update.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
that is exactly that.
Yep. And that's what I expect. I mean, I used to do that kind of stuff with copy and paste all the time.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No,
So-
in the legal profession, there's not an original document that's been crafted probably in 20 years. So
Right.
copy and
Yeah.
paste it.
You copy and paste, and then you have your proofreaders and
Yep.
yep.
So I did call Tony Roselli because what I couldn't find was whether whether they were on site or remote.
Mhm.
How were they doing their audits these days?
Yeah.
And he said 60 to 70% of the audit is done in person, that they will come out. He said what we want transmitted to us are reports and bank statements. But for all of the invoices and things like that, he says that they are in place to get that. I know right now Terry's going a little crazy because Melanson is making them scan in everything, the invoices, the statements, and she said it's major, and she did not want that. Now, Powers and Sullivan says that they'll work with that. They did it all remotely during COVID, and I think everybody did, but
Yeah.
that they will pretty much do whatever the town chooses as far as that goes, even though they say their whole audit process is paperless. So to me, there was a conflict there. I'm not exactly sure what they meant by that.
Well, as I read it, they were talking about their technical capabilities and how they're going to be in the field, and they are connected to scanners and printers and everything remotely, so they'd be able to do it. So it sounded like, they were both on site. When I read the Roselli, it did explicitly highlight that there was a transportation cost in there, so that sort of indicated to me that they would be traveling.
Right. They said that travel
going.
costs are borne by the contractor.
Yeah.
Yep.
On page 36. I didn't find that at all. So they're covering their own travel costs, is the way I read that.
Yep. And again, I read that on the Roselli one too.
And Roselli, it's page 36 of 42. Where did you find it in Powers? Because I looked for that and I couldn't find it.
Yeah. I know Roselli's qualified. They're kind of like their breakout. And they said, we're going to do this, that, and that. It's all going to be borne by our fee.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they needed to say that because they all said they can comply with the RFQ in full, which whether that's in remote or in person, that doesn't matter to us, right? As far as the cost of gasoline.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't find it in I didn't find it in Sullivan and Powers, but that doesn't mean it isn't here.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Sullivan and Powers was the one that said through COVID they were more remote,
Right.
but he anticipated that they'd do more on site in the upcoming year.
Right.
The RFQ did not specify that we wanted somebody 60% of the time in person versus remote. It just said audit. So what they each have their own business plan on how they're going to do it. Does that matter to us? And does it matter that Roselli's going to pay for their own gas?
It matters I know to Terry. She would prefer they were in person.
Right.
Well, we should have qualified. We should have qualified that in the RFQ.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. She didn't tell me until the day these came in.
Oops.
Or I would have asked them all. But anyway,
well, that's another reason for Roselli then. I mean, because they said 60% of the time they're going to be in person.
Right. All right, so should I call Powers and Sullivan and say, we want to know about the capital assets in inventory? I know you said you were meeting it, completely, but is that or is that not included? Should I ask about the capital assets inventory and about these are my questions for Powers. So it's the capital assets in inventory, the what was the thing I just said? IT was.
Well, the IT interaction with our IT department and how many hours they think that's going to be. We're paying on an hourly rate for that could add thousands of dollars to the quote.
Right.
Right. Then, and again, the additional parts and requirements of what the technical document interchange is going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a piece. Is there something that would be required?
So just for my 2 cents, guys, I don't even think I would want to go to Powers to qualify that. I think just the fact that we have those questions on that quote, that I would just pick Roselli as we stand. That's from my perspective. I'm comfortable with that. But that's,
Yeah. No, I think I was leaning that way too. Again, the pieces of, I don't know that we're technically savvy enough at this time to be able to take on what Powers and Sullivan wants to do. The fact that they're doing the 2 high schools. So I guess I was leaning to Roselli also based on the comparisons. It's kind of like and not knowing what the open-ended costs and workload might be.
For me, I was leaning towards Roselli, and it had more to do with the capital asset inventory. Although, to be fair to Powers and Sullivan, without asking them, I don't know if they were planning to do that or not, but it's certainly not spelled out in here. And the other piece is the CAFR thing, whatever that might be. If in fact we do want it, we're paying an extra $5,000 for that. So.
Right.
And I also like the fact that Roselli is doing others in the area. So,
right. And I don't think they had Pepperell, but I was just trying to. They did have Ashby as an active client.
that's what I was just looking to see if they had Ashby, because I know Ashby's not high up on the technological ladder.
or you mean Roselli, you mean?
No, Ashby himself. Yeah.
Roselli, Roselli has Ashby.
Yeah.
They have Pepperell too. It's listed as one of their references.
It's listed in their references, but
It's
they're
not
not
listed in their list of
towns.
towns. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I wondered if he was let's see, Pepperell. If he was a town accountant that just moved into Pepperell position and came from somewhere else, because I look at the telephone number of 413 and I know that's out west somewhere.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. The references that Powers and Sullivan gave were all like South Shore.
Yeah, South Shore, North Shore. There's a Lancaster in here just recently.
Powers and Sullivan has more clients in the municipal world than Roselli, but 150 versus 130, so it's not that much of a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you look at small municipalities, I thought they were pretty close. It was like 65 and 60, something like that.
Yeah.
So Veronica, if we make a decision tonight between these 2 applicants proposals, what's the next process?
I am assuming that we write a letter and that we send a letter saying we're, we accept, and then we need to do a contract. I'll
Is
find
that,
out.
does that authority rest with the Board of Selectmen though? Or do we just make a referral to the selectmen to hire Roselli or whoever?
Let me look at the Audit Committee rules because
Hmm.
again, first time I'm doing this. So
Oh,
let
yeah.
me-
Well, this audit committee's only been existing for like 6 years, right? So,
Oh, no, we are the first. We are the
oh,
first.
but the rule
ever.
was out there. It was never enforced.
Ah,
They never seated the Audit
Yeah.
Committee.
Yeah.
I think it was when Sue and Wayne and maybe Cindy King were on the board.
Okay. I remember Lucio's name on there. So what's that? I don't remember, 5 years, whatever. Time flies.
Here we go. The Audit Committee shall solicit, interview, and recommend to the Board of Selectmen the firm of independent auditors that is to audit and report on the financial statements issued by the town.
Okay.
We shall review the audit plan with the independent auditors upon completion of the audit. So let me just make sure. Yeah, so that's the next thing that we need to talk about. But what we've been doing is this piece. The Audit Committee shall
Yep.
solicit, interview, and recommend to the Board of Selectmen the firm of independent auditors that is to audit and report on the financial statements. So that's what we've been doing.
So a motion tonight would be to recommend A or B to the Board of Selectmen for contracting with whoever they are.
Yes.
Okay.
So is there a motion?
Well, I
Are
gotta
you
tell you,
guys ready for that? Or do you?
I know we've kind of beat this one down a little bit on the, I do like the Roselli, Clark and Associates firm over the other. So I'll make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen enter into a contract for the auditing service with Roselli, Clark and Associates for the fiscal years 22, 23 and 24.
and I would second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, so.
Yeah.
Hearing none, is there a vote?
David Chanel, yes.
Don Hayes, yes.
And Veronica Kell, yes. So I will put this on the April 5th agenda for the Board of Selectmen. I don't have any other copies of this than what you guys have and what I have. I know you,
Whoops.
if you're like me, you wrote them up.
I did.
I know I wrote all over mine.
Yeah,
I
I didn't
can
do
draw-
a,
I didn't write it off that much, but I did do some notes on it.
Should I just copy mine and put it in the SharePoint? Do you think that would be okay?
You have
I
all
don't have
your
a clean
comments.
copy. I wrote
Yeah.
on it.
if Dave didn't write much and I didn't write much, maybe between us, we can go through the pages and say, and put together.
Yeah, when do you want, I can drop this off, Ronnie. When would you want that happen?
I won't, it needs to go in the SharePoint for the Board of Selectmen by next week, Thursday, I'd say. So if you're around Town Hall, just drop
Well,
it off.
I could take the thing apart and scan it in and send you a
Could you
PDF.
do that?
I have a scanner on my machine.
Oh my, if you could do that, Dave, that would be wonderful.
In living color,
I'll take it. I'll take any notes that you may have. It's fine.
Well,
That
most
would
of
be
my notes are with stickies, as yours was. I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have enough to make a fan like you do, but but
I did put stickies on the pages, but I also underlined.
I did a few. So I'll scan them both, but not for the Sullivan, just for the Roselli one.
Yeah.
was
What do
that-
you think, Dawn? I don't really want to debate this.
Well, that's what our job is, to make a recommendation, not to, for you
Right.
to.
And this is who we recommended.
Okay.
If the rest of the board wants to go out and see what the other one is, then
I
we can-
have a copy of Powers and
Yeah.
Sullivan.
Right.
I mean, it's
Or
similar to,
Sullivan
I mean,
Powers or whatever.
John and I were both on the TA search committee, and our job was to recommend several people to the board to review, and that was the charge. This one with
That's right.
charge
You
with,
were both on that, weren't you?
yeah,
We were, yep.
you know, when you want something done, give it to a busy person.
I was gonna say, and add to that, it's kind of like, and I didn't realize when we were talking to one of the candidates that Dave and I grew up in the same town, just different sections of it, or city.
You grew up in Lowell?
Yep. I graduated Lowell High in '73.
Where did you go? What
I
area
was-
did you?
I was in the Highlands.
I was in Centerville.
Yep. Whereabouts in Centerville? My grandmother lived on West 11th.
I was on Coburn Street,
Okay. Yep.
2 blocks over from St. Louis Academy, which is where I went to school.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of.
I knew
Yeah,
I
it's
liked
been-
you for a reason, Don. That's, you know.
Well, I started as we were talking, and you mentioned Centerville. I'm going, oh, don't, we're about to, like.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
After I
it's
left
kind of-
St. Louis, I went to public, and we moved to Drake, and I went to Greenmont Elementary and middle
Okay.
school there. And then I moved to Groton.
Okay. Yep. Yep. No, we stayed in Lowell the whole time. I went over to Fort Hill. When I got married, I was in an apartment at Fort Hill West, Park Avenue
Wow.
West, the address.
Yep. Most of my relatives are still there.
Park
I mean,
Avenue.
I did end up going back to Lowell Tech in the 70s for my undergrad. But
Wow.
before I turned to UMass Lowell, and then.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I get accepted in. I had a conditional to Lowell Tech, and Lowell State Teachers College accepted me, so I went there.
You went to Lowell State?
Lowell State Teachers College.
Yeah, I went to Lowell Tech in the North Campus.
Across
they-
the
they
bridge.
call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the old time stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, Ronnie, I will have this scanned to you for tomorrow,
Okay, that would be great.
and just send it to your email. I'll have
Just
2
send it
separate
to my-
attachments. They may be large, so I may have to split up because the color, I will
Yeah.
scan them in color so you can
So
look
we
better.
can
So
all get our eyes goofy with the blue.
I could, if I
Oh,
send
yeah.
them regular, I think that blue shade through the narrative will mess you up.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
just scan it. If it takes, a couple sections to do it, that's.
I'll do it. I'll break it up
part
for you.
1,
Nope.
part 2, part 3,
Mm.
no problem.
Yep, we'll get it.
So, okay, and so we'll recommend Roselli Clark. And so the next thing is Melanson is so I'm moving on to the next agenda item. This
Okay,
is the FY 21. So should I share my screen so you guys can see this?
Yeah.
Let me, this is the policy. So this is what we're supposed to be doing. So if I look at this, the audit committee shall review the audit plan with the independent auditors upon completion of the audit, meet with the independent auditors to discuss the results of the audit, the management letter, and the annual financial reports. So I was going to get in contact with with Melanson and Heath to find out when we could meet with them.
Can we do it in person, Ronnie?
I would like to.
I would
be
too.
So much easier.
Mhm.
Do you agree with that, Dawn? Are you good with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
I just did my review for my board remotely, and it was kind of a pain in the neck.
Okay. All right. So, so I will check with them and see what the time frame is. I think as far as the audit plan, I don't know. It's the sentence that I have to parse and find out. And then after we meet with them, we are supposed to transmit a copy of the completed annual audit financials to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. And with the assistance from the auditing firm, if so desired, present the results of the annual audit financials and management letter to a jointly held public meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. So I'm looking at 2 meetings. One is this first one to just meet with them to discuss the results, and then another one to bring it forward.
Okay.
Does that seem right to you guys?
It sounds like
Yes,
it's laid out. Yeah.
Okay. So, So that's then what I'll do, if that's okay with everybody.
Oh, so be it.
All right. All right, I'm going to stop the screen share. So what I'll do then is I'll get back to you guys with the dates after I talk to Melanson Heath, unless one of you would rather talk to Melanson Heath. I'm okay with that too. It's up to you.
I don't have any contact with them, so I don't know if Dawn or you do. It'd probably be better to have, and maybe have Ross in there present as well when we meet with
Yes,
them.
I would like that. So, all right. All right. So let's plan on that then. And I'll get dates to you guys. So Dave, you'll get me the,
That'll be done by, I have a hearing tomorrow from 9 to 12 in that range, but I'll try to do it before that, or it'll be shortly after that, mid-afternoon.
there isn't a rush. I don't need it for a week. So. you
Okay,
know,
it'll
just
be
get it-
done tomorrow. It'll be done tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And I'll get it on the agenda. I'll talk to Melanson and Heath and see about dates. And we'll go from there.
Sounds like a
So
plan.
thank you very much, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you for doing the yeoman's work.
you.
I have minutes to write, and our next meeting, I will have like a sheaf of minutes. But our meetings aren't all that long, so
Yeah.
it'll be good. And we don't have that many motions in them, so.
Great.
All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
Is there a second for 6:17?
a motion to adjourn at 6:17 PM.
All right.
Sorry, second. Yeah.
Second. All right. All those in favor?
David Chanel, yes.
John Hayes, yes.
And Veronica Cal, yes. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
And look
Okay,
for
thanks.
email.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.